Welcome to the Filmmaker's Playbook. My name is Jason Branagan and this is a podcast all about filmmaking. My guest today is actor Emmett J. Scanlan. Emmett has just been nominated for an IFTA for his performance as Jimmy Kinsella in the AMC drama series Kin. Other credits include Netflix's smash hit series Fool Me Once, ITV's The Tower, Harlan Coben's Safe, Peaky Blinders, The Fall, and so much more. On today's show, we talk about the magic of movie making, the impact Rocky had on his career, the lessons he learned working in soap, the power of gratitude, building resilience in an industry filled with rejection, and the constant evolution of his craft. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thank you for listening. Emmett Scanlan, what's the story?
Hello, brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm really excited to chat to you today and talk shop.
Thank you, my friend.
So, look, let's dig straight in. I would love to know, I guess, how you came to performing and acting and where that kind of desire to pursue a career on screen came from.
Like many people, I guess, I fell in love with story. Growing up, my hero was Sylvester Stallone, and my favorite movie of all time was Rocky. It still is actually. And I remember shadow boxing behind my living room sofa to the montage time and time again. And I remember how the music and the story made me feel, how delicate Stallone's performance was. I remember the buzz I felt, the inspiration, and I'm pretty sure that even back then that I knew I wanted to be an actor, and if I didn't, I've convinced myself over the years from telling this story that I have. But what I do know for sure, and I genuinely don't know fucking anything, is that what Stallone was doing for me was mesmerizing. That the magic of movie making is so far reaching and so and influencing that to even comprehend it would be like trying to catch fucking air in your hand. The idea that through his craft that he could touch and inspire a kid on the other side of the world, a kid he'll probably never even meet, to become an actor. Now that's a fucking job. Imagine helping shape his decisions or helping carve out his choices and indeed his life for the better. That's special. So I found my dharma or my purpose in life from the age of 8, thanks to that movie. And I love the idea of making someone feel better, allowing them to escape their own lives by putting on the face of another. If they're having a shit day, or like a good movie or a good show will make it less shit. If they're having a great day, a good movie or a good show will only enhance that. And that's what movies do for me, and I love that. Now, I'm not saying I'm not saying that what I do personally is in any capacity the same as Stallone's. Of course, it's fucking not. But endeavoring to maybe, just maybe, make someone feel better through that work is a good end game, I think. And yeah, that's how I came to fall in love with movie.
I love that you mentioned Rocky. I love that film. What I used to say about Rocky, that if like some alien came down from another planet and you could provide one piece of media that in some capacity captured this sense of human spirit and our grit, I would show them Rocky.
It's a staggering piece of cinema. Staggering. And even now it holds up. I don't even know what year that was. I think it might have been 76 or something like that. That it was made. But even now you can watch that now and I can be drawn to tears, and everybody in that is extraordinary. And he loses at the end, spoiler alert, but wins at the same time. It burnt itself into my consciousness, much like Jaws did, but for very fucking different reasons. I don't get in the ocean anymore because of Jaws. But you know what I mean? It's growing up watching movies, the impact that it has on our lives is utterly remarkable.
Yeah, and I think Rocky's a great example in a sense of like pure storytelling in terms of character, because I went back and rewatched it not too long ago, and you forget almost that it is kind of a character study, and there's
Yeah.
very little boxing in it until the very end. And in terms of Rocky's arc, kind of this idea of there is what he wants versus what he needs, and how that materializes, I think, is just incredibly well written. So going from having that moment and going, okay, this is what I want to do, there's power in this.
Hmm.
When did you actually begin to perform, and how did you then kind of go about pursuing a career as a professional actor?
Again, my first taste of it was doing Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I think I was about 14 at the time, and I was too young to audition for it, yet I auditioned for it anyway, and I got a speaking part. I played the butler. I even remember the lines, exactly the lines that it was. I can't remember my lines from 2 days ago, but I can remember the lines from when I was 14. Um, and I just remember getting up on stage and performing, and when I was leaving, I did a round of applause, and I was just like, oh wow, that's maybe I'm okay at something, And it was also I was in an all boys school, and it was kind of like it was a mixed opportunity where like guys and girls would come together and make some art, I guess, to some degree, put on some musical theater, and it was just an escapism from school, which I didn't really gel to in the slightest. And I loved that escapism. I loved the pretending to be somebody else when I found even myself slightly uncomfortable to be around. So I guess from that point, I got the bug, and then my parents, they said they wanted me to get a degree, and if I got a degree, they'd support my first year of acting. So I went and did an honors degree in history and philosophy, and I joined the drama soc there, and that was my favorite time of the 3 years, 4 years that I was in university, was just doing drama soc and just putting on plays and stuff like that. So I was constantly, and even like my part-time jobs were only in like an Extravision video shop, or you used to get cassettes for those who are very young listening to this, and cinemas. So I had to be around movies. I had to be around uh, TV and movies all the time. And then I just kind of just hustled really. And I got one of my first gigs was the Big Bow Wow. I don't know if you have seen that or if you even remember when that came out, but I based my character on Bradley Whitford from The West Wing, and who's absolutely genius in that. But I didn't know what marks were. I didn't know what big was. I didn't know what small in front of the camera was. And Dervla Walsh, the fantastic director that she was my director on the Big Bow Wow. And I remember watching it. I didn't go to acting classes or anything like that. So I just remember watching when it aired on TV with my family all around me. I was fucking appalling. I was terrible. I had this like, and it was so, it was so, and my family would go, "Oh, that was great," and I'm like, "No, it wasn't." And it was such a humbling experience for me. And that no acting class, I don't think, can teach you that kind of humbling humiliation, nationwide humiliation. And I promised, I was sitting on the sofa there. I promised not to be that shit again. And I obviously lied because I have been. But the moments between me being shit are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So there are moments where I'm really marinating in a good feeling place. But that was kind of like the beginnings of what I did. And then I did a movie called Charlie Casanova, and directly after Charlie Casanova, I went straight over to England to do more work, and I haven't left.
I would love to just take a moment to appreciate that experience of watching yourself first time out and going, that wasn't particularly good. Because I think there can be a misconception in this industry as well, that you will just be good, or you just wait until you're really good before you go and make work. And there is always a process and a journey. And I've said it before on this as well. When I started making stuff, all shit. It's only beginning to get a little bit better now, but there's a lot of bad stuff out there that I try to make sure it doesn't get seen.
Yeah, look at you.
You mentioned going to England. So post Charlie Casanova, which you did with Terry McMahon, you were on Hollyoaks for a couple of years. I'm particularly interested in your experience on that show and in soap or continuing drama because I come from that world as well. Um, I would love to dig into how that show began to maybe shape the actor you are today, or what specifically maybe you learned and took away from going onto a show that is as fast paced and as constant as Hollyoaks.
It's a great question. I did 360 episodes in 2 years playing Brendan Brady, and I think the only one to come close to that number during that time was my now wife. Uh, Continuous drama. It was intense. It was beautiful, and if mishandled correctly, and I'm nothing if not self-destructive, it was toxic. But that's probably a story for another day. But what it did teach me was that it taught me to be fast. It taught me to be on the ball. It taught me to learn my lines at a ferocious rate. To be adaptable to last minute changes. More importantly than all of that, though, it taught me to let go. Good Lord, just let go. And for one's own self-preservation, it taught me to flex the muscle of detachment. Detachment from the end product. And as a byproduct of that, it allowed a lot of room to play and explore in between the words action and cut without, cutting myself up afterwards. It gave me the freedom to take big swings, to dare to suck, to experiment what works, what doesn't work. And to be honest, the turnaround is so quick that you don't have a choice but to move the fuck on. And that's a great tool to have moving on. It was and is a savage feeding ground to learn one's craft. It scratches an itch you never thought you had. Trust me. But I will say, and funny enough, I was talking about this recently, actually, the greatest lesson that experience taught me, that being on continuous drama taught me, is that I have a good side of my face and a bad side of my face. I'm kidding. No, it actually did teach me that, but no, that's not important. What it taught me was what it taught me wasn't in acting, it was in self-love. And I don't mean that in a gratuitous way, but in a nurturing way, because love myself, I did not. In fact, I had this kind of insidious disdain for myself, which I only knew existed from doing that show. The soap world, the soap bubble is so intense, and the fans, while wonderful, were also plentiful. And that jump from not being known by anyone other than my friends to suddenly being recognized was a hard gear change that I was shit at. I was also sporting a handlebar tash, so it was very easy to pick out, but to say the least. But the difficult thing for me was I just found the whole thing, like I played Brendan Brady in 2010. What's that? 14 years ago, 2010. Okay. And he was this flawed but brilliant character who eventually came to accept his own sexuality. And I think that the one of the most brutal prisons that people live in is the fear of what other people think. And when Brendan stopped caring about what other people thought, he became invincible. He became fearless. And unfortunately, I wasn't as quick as he was. So the recognition that came from fans, I found very difficult. I couldn't handle the attention, or else I handled it badly. I felt constantly on edge because I felt constantly undeserving. My nights out became my nights in. When people would come over to me during the day and ask for a photo or tell me I was good, my comment was always the same. Oh, thanks. I wish you had better taste. And it always garnered a laugh. And it was modest, and it was all that other shit, self-deprecating way of dealing with what I thought was unworthy accolades. And I soon realized that what I was putting out there, while funny and protective, wasn't healthy for my own mentality. And one of my favorite quotes, and one of my favorite quotes of all time is, never say anything about yourself that you don't want to come true. And I was telling myself and those who would listen to stop coming over to me that I didn't deserve it. And I needed to love myself more. And if I could do that, the part of the job that I found uncomfortable would become more comfortable, making the part that I did love, the work, uninterrupted. Fuck me, I'm talking a lot. But my point is, the point that I want to get to is, because I was talking about this recently, is I remember it was one nondescript day in December, right? I live in Chester. Christmas stalls are out. It's 2014. Okay, I've left Hollyoaks about a year at this point. Okay, and I was wearing my headphones. I had my sunnies on, and I was standing in a crowded area. I was looking up at the sky. I've got this love affair with the sky. I stare at it on a daily basis. Anyway, I saw from my peripheral a guy walking towards me, and in my head, I'm thinking, "Oh, fuck's sake!" So I'm still very uncomfortable about this thing, and we're talking like a year after, like 2.5 years, 3 years into this. And I just remember thinking to myself, just keep looking at the sky, he'll piss off, it'll be fine. And then he just goes, excuse me. And I pretend that I'm listening to music, and he goes, excuse me. And I take out my pods and I look at him and I go, yeah, mate. And he says, now I'm paraphrasing at this point because it was 10 years ago, but he says something along the lines of like that he really appreciated my portrayal of Brendan Brady, and that the storyline gave him the courage to come out to his dad, to accept himself for who he was. And I'm pretty sure that I babbled something in response, or maybe I didn't. I've got no key, to that part of my memory. But whichever way it played out, he apologized for disturbing me and then just, disappeared into the crowd. And that kid at Chester Market reminded me of the boy who was shadowboxing behind the sofa in Dublin, the boy who fell in love with arts, because somewhere along the way I lost that. Okay, I lost that love, the reason for doing it. I got distracted by all the bells and whistles, the smokes and mirrors, the toxicity that bubble gave me. And in the 2 years that I did Hollyoaks, and all the great memories that that job had given me, and that there was the highlight, that moment. Yeah, a year after the gig, from a kid I don't know, whose face I don't even remember. And on the same day, another person came over to me and said, "Sorry, can I get a photo?" And I was like, "Sure." And then she said, like, "I love what you do, by the way." And with the confidence of that kid who was watching Rocky all those years ago, I went, "Thank you. You have remarkable taste." And I was being playful, okay? But she laughed and I smiled. And then so too was born a new saying. I wish you had better taste and you have remarkable taste. Both induced laughters, but only one of those sayings made me feel good. And my point is that what continuous drama taught me was never say anything about yourself that you don't want to come true, that your words become thoughts, your thoughts become habits, and that'll mirror back to your life that you want. I mean, that's just law. So I have so much respect for anybody who does it. And I encourage anyone with the opportunity to not turn their noses up at it, but instead embrace the experience. You'll be a better actor for it. You'll be a better person. Okay, I'm going to stop talking now. That's all the time we have for today. See you later. Bye.
Man, that's a gorgeous story. Thank you very much for sharing it. And it goes to show, the power of the work. You never know who's watching.
Yes.
So I love that you had that experience of continuing drama, and what a wonderful lesson to actually take away from it. Can I ask then, because one of the maybe challenges of continuing drama and moving out of continuing drama is, because you're doing so much, the workload is so heavy, you like as a director, you just got to get through pages. Same thing for an actor. I think it's a place where you can potentially also walk away with bad habits. Your creativity maybe becomes a little zapped or drained because you're just so used to doing this one thing. Were there any bad habits as a performer that you maybe left continuing drama with, that you had to change gears to kind of get out of when you then made the move away from it?
I kind of made a pact with myself that when I started to when the work started to be affected, I would leave the show. I went there with the intention of just being the baddest guy in Britain when I was going over there. And I accomplished that in the 2 years that I was there. And I felt that if my outside life was going to bleed onto my set, then I had to leave. If the storyline started to repeat itself, then I was going to leave. The minute I started getting comfortable that I have to leave, I find out what I'm scared of and I go live there. I've always been that way, you know. I kind of like I understand that growth happens outside your comfort zone. And I don't want that to sound really wanky, and I'm coming out with these quotes left, right, and center at the moment. But I mean, it's how I live. So it's very important for me that to recognize those habits, or if I start developing bad habits, to recognize them and to knock it on the head immediately and go find another challenge. So I'm quite proactive when it comes to that kind of thing.
Brilliant. And I relate to that entirely. I always kind of say the minute you stop learning in something, it's time to move on. It's not really serving you and you're not growing anymore from it. So
Yeah, and there's also a thing that I learned as well, which was beautiful. Is just the get out there and create. You know, I mean, there's the competitors, those who compete, and no matter how they do it or how they win, it's always short lived because they're taking something from somebody else. But when you create, every time you step on stage, you step on that field, you step on that set, you're winning, and then the most beautiful experiences come from that. You know. I figured that out because like there was like when I started to think that this was a competition and that the resources were finite and limited was when my career or my choices and all these other things became quite limited, quite famine induced.
as can, I think, happen, and we go through peaks and troughs in this game as well, right?
Yes, mate, 100%.
Comes and goes.
Yeah, I have marinated in the darkness.
Yeah, and look, I'd love to. We'll touch on that as well because I do want to ask you also about your the bottle of champagne in the fridge and stuff because I think it's a brilliant principle. But before I get there, post Hollyoaks, looking at some of your more recent work, the likes of Safe, Kin, Peaky Blinders, Film Me Once, The Tower, you're doing all this incredible high-end drama, and I was wondering for you, is there a difference in that world of work versus the continuing drama world of work that you established yourself in initially?
I think the structure to a certain extent and the basic principles are the same. You know, the foundation of on which to build your character and one show are the same. The money is sizably bigger, so the time and care put into high end is more meticulous and you hope handled with a lot more care. It's like I think you touched upon this as well. It's a lot slower than continuous drama, but the stakes are much higher. The consequences of missing are far greater. You know, there's nowhere to hide, and that's a beautiful thing. You can't have a bad day, or if you do have a bad day, you pray for a good director or a good editor. Creatively, it's savagely rewarding. I mean, being able to go, you listed a couple of shows there, one or two that I actually forgot, but being able to go from show to show allows you to explore different facets of your own character while trying on the mold of other characters. And I've always said that when I leave this world, whenever that is, I want to leave behind a box set of characters that I'm proud of, and high end allows me to do that. It allows for that to happen. But you know, touching back on the last question, if it wasn't for continuous drama, I wouldn't have been put in people's vision. So my path might have been a lot slower. Would I have gotten there and without it? Who knows?
Your job then as an actor is the same across the board.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 Your process. That sounds wanky. I listen to smartness. They hate that word. And the way in which you establish character and all that, your work ethics and stuff like that changes with experience. But your hunger to want to be to be brilliant, it's for the show to be brilliant, and to understand that it's a team effort and that you can all come together and build something that shouldn't the stakes should always be high when it comes to that. Yeah, 100%.
We could dig into so many characters that you have played, but you're kind of mentioning a process. I would love to get a sense of what your process looks like, particularly from the point of view of beginning to prep for roles and prep characters. I thought if it was okay with you, we could look at Jimmy and Kin. I would love to know What was your process when you're cast there in going, okay, now I have to become this person?
Like I said, it's evolved over the years, you know. We touched on Charlie Casanova, right? Which was a movie based on a sociopath, okay, who makes all his decisions based on the draw of a card. Ace to five, yes. Six to ten, no. He abdicates responsibility, and he begs a question. This question that takes him outside of his comfort zone, anywhere from setting the house on fire to cutting your throat. He abdicates responsibility and gives it all to the cards, right? So there was that, okay? That was the first lead that I was ever cast, and it was Terry was the first one to trust me with the lead, and I was eternally grateful. And it was a project of which I'm still to this very day proud of, and it got me on the map with all sorts of things. But in that process, I went methods, you know, and it was like a 11-day shoot. And it was hugely taxing and probably on everybody around me. I'm like, even like 2, 3 weeks leading up to the movie, I'd go around Dublin city centre with a deck of cards asking people if they wanted to play a game. So there was a lot of things leading up to that sort of thing, you know. And then I realized that, and then I went straight into Hollyoaks, and I realized that kind of process is never going to work. So it's evolved and changed, and also it was too taxing and too it wasn't great. I can feel like I can get to those places without having to do that kind of stuff. So now through its evolution, we fast forward 13 years maybe to Kin and with Jimmy. Um, in answer to your question, mates, I do everything I can before I step on set. You know, I will study, I will research as much as possible, as much as the time given will allow, and I will just assume that whatever I do, the important parts of that will stick in some way in my subconscious, and please God, show itself when the time is right, when the camera is rolling. You know, I devour scripts. I absolutely devour them, so I don't even have to go back to them again. I know the lines, so I can play. I can let whatever happens be okay, and I try to leave my ego in the trailer and get out of my own fucking way. I trust. I play. I dance, willing to go anywhere and try anything. Always figuring it out and trying to mine out the truth in any situation, and I absolutely love it. I am my happiest when I'm on set. I'm also very aware that I'm still a fucking novice, and that's a good thing. You know, I mean, if acting was the lifespan of a human and the old man being the pinnacle of acting, then I'm still in the fetus stage. And at times, after a bad show or bad performance, found in the fetal position, begging for another shot, another take. You know, I haven't even scraped the surface of what I want to do or what I can do, and that excites me. So that's my process now. Less destructive than the Charlie Casanova days, a lot more conducive, a lot more team playing, but it's always evolving from gig to gig with the realization that I have a long way to go.
I love that. I mean that genuinely. That word evolution, I think, is really powerful as well because it's that sense of kind of a growth mindset. Back to that idea of continuously learning that you have the ability to take something from every experience, bring
Mm,
it forward, get better. So I love that there's no resting on your laurels.
no.
People see the finished work, they see the end products, so they see the ups, but oftentimes people don't realize that all of those yeses and all of those shows are built on this kind of cacophony of no's and rejection in this industry. It's kind of what we're built on, and you need to be really resilient to exist in this world, I think. I know you keep a bottle of champagne in the fridge, and I love the premise behind that. I was wondering if you would be willing to kind of talk about the genesis of that idea and maybe how you have built resilience as an actor.
Well, where you are personally in your head will dictate everything. Milton says that the mind makes a heaven of hell and a hell of heaven. Yeah. So when you're in a good place, the work has no choice but to match that, and I really believe that. Okay, to manifest the best experiences you can have, you need to have fun. Get up in the morning and above all else, find out what makes you happy and go do that. And the jobs will follow. Most people, they think about what they don't want and they get it, or they think about what they do want and they only see the absence of it. Okay. So the number one thing that's important, I think, to manifest the life that I want is pursuing joy. And I'm addicted to that pursuit. If you want good work experiences, if you want good jobs, you got to be happy. You got to be happy to get to happy. And a quick way of doing that, that I have found doing that, is that I place a lot of stuff on gratitude. It's something that works for me. It sounds wanky, but it's something that works for me. And I read somewhere that gratitude is the realization that every single thing that you have, you could just as easily not have. I have a tradition. I've always had a tradition where I keep a bottle of fizz in the fridge. And every time I open that fridge door, it reminds me to be grateful, grateful for the good news that's coming, grateful for the good news that's already here. It's something that I've always done, okay? And I've always, like you said, I've postcarded it on them social media platforms. And as the years have gone on since doing this, I find myself opening more and more bottles because that tradition allows me to marinate in gratitude. And and I think that is a masterful way to not only get what you want, but to just be in a really good feeling place. Again, another great quote. I've realized how many quotes this is ridiculous, but Dr. Wayne Dyer said something that I've never forgotten and something that has forever burnt itself in my consciousness. Okay. He says that when he's walking down the street, he sees a penny on the ground, he picks it up and he says, "Thank you for the abundance." Never once did he say, "Why only a penny?" And I thought that was beautiful. And that reminded me to be grateful for everything, including the small things, ordinary things, especially the ordinary things. So that's the genesis of the bottle of champagne in the fridge. And I have friends that do it. They send me pictures of, depending on what their poison is. It could be champagne, it could be elderflower, whatever. They send me pictures going, and I just know that they've booked a gig. I have strangers that reach out. They do the exact same thing from all ages, always sending me pictures. And it makes me feel good. It's like, that's lovely that they've incorporated it, that they remind themselves to be grateful.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful practice, and it's so practical, and it exists in front of you. You know what I mean? So I love the idea of the penny as well. Dr. Wayne Dyer, was that his name?
Yeah, yeah.
I remember I used to work, I lived in Toronto for a couple of years, and I worked in a gym and I worked in sales, and we had this real salesy regional manager. And when he came in, he gave us this big spiel one time, and this was something that stuck with me. And it was about the ask. And it was kind of about, in that world, you're dealing with so much rejection as well. Something I've kind of carried with me, which was, he said, like, every single no you get is so valuable because all of them get you closer to the yes. So he was
Yeah.
like, take every one of those no's, pick it up, put it in your pocket, and just know you're one more closer to getting the yes that you want. And I think anything that helps us through the no's in this game and that works for us is vital.
Because you'll get more no's than yes, and you have to use that to motivate you, to forge you, to push you forward. But it's not easy, but nothing worth having ever comes easy anyway. So it's kind of it's important to get those, and I think that's a beautiful way of looking at things. That no has got me closer to the next yes. I'm getting closer and closer and closer, and enjoying the journey, but not the destination. You see a dog sticking its head out the window with its tongue lolling in the fucking wind. He's loving it. He's loving life. He's enjoying the journey. He's not thinking about the destination that he's getting there. So if you can do that, then those no's stop becoming so heavy. And then and when you get a no, leave it on the ground. Don't put it in your pocket. Weigh you down.
That's true as well. But I do like that idea of, gives you some impetus to go and just fucking get those no's. Just
Yeah,
collect them all up because every one of them is a step on that journey, one foot in front of the other.
100%.
There is maybe a little bit of a myth, or that people who don't work in the industry may not fully know, this idea that you get to choose every script that comes your, people go, oh, what was it? Why did you choose that one? Why did you choose that one? And anyone who works in the industry knows that that's not the case. You hope for good material and to get offered good material. Some jobs are for the money because they have to be. I was wondering, when you are reading scripts,
Mm.
this might be a broad question, but what are you looking for in scripts, or what are you hoping for when you get that script and you go to turn that first page?
Well, I guess it's like my acting approach to characters. The long answer is what I look for changed over the years. And you'll know this, at first when you're starting out, I was just looking for work. So someone saying yes, he'll do was enough for me to do it. And there's incredible freedom in saying yes, and there's power in saying no, but there's freedom in saying yes. And I remember being on the cold, unforgiving floor of my personal and professional rock bottom. I was coming off two NBC shows at the same time, both of which were cancelled. I was getting direct offers for shit and crashing to my death in every audition. And that all happened. That all happened when I was trying to be specific about what I wanted from my career, what the next step should be, what I thought I deserved. I wanted to somehow curate my career when I obviously wasn't even in the position to do so, certainly not the right headspace. And in hindsight, that famine-induced part of my career happened while I was trying to be specific, because I was in that bad place, because I was on the cold, unforgiving floor of rock bottom. Yeah. And when you're in that bad place, then you only see the things that you don't have. And what I learned at the beginning was that when you're in that bad place, to go general, just go general. Just say to yourself, to the universe, to God, whoever you believe in, that you want to work. Just say yes. And I remember you touched on this as well. I remember being asked what drew me to Safe, Harlan Coben series on Netflix, right? And that because Safe was the first gig that I got after through the hardest period of my career. It was an 18-month period. It was awful. It was a nightmare. And Safe was the first gig that I was given, right? And I remember being asked what drew me to Safe, and the journalist wasn't to know. According to my IMDb, it probably looked like I was working, but that couldn't have been further from the truth. And my answer was, they asked and I was available. And for a lot of the jobs I've done, that's been my process. And it's worked wonders, okay? As the years have gone on and I'm in a better place mentally, I'm able to curate now to a certain degree my choices. But I said yes to everything. And I'm only now learning to say no. And nowadays, and I said this already, but nowadays I find out what I'm scared of and I go live there. I look now in this place talking to you, I look for the storm, I look for the chaos, the danger, and I throw myself into that place where I like to go. Well, maybe not like, but I'm certainly drawn to, the place where the potential for the most pain will bring about the most fun, and ultimately I just want to be better. I just want to be a better artist. I want to be a better human. And I can only do that outside of my comfort zone. So what I'm looking for in projects now is specifically is story and director. Scripts are and scripts were up until recently the best bit for me. Now it's directors. A great script or performance can be lobotomized by a shite director, but a great director can turn a shite script or performance, which I can give from time to time, into something really beautiful, and turn a great script and performance into something masterful. So selfishly, what I look for is the director, but it also makes sense. Without a good one, it doesn't work. I mean, you take O'Driscoll out of the rugby team of old, or Sexton. You take Keane out of United's '99 team, or captain away from his ship, a sensei away from his dojo, and they're all worst for it. So the director is a good director, is a good captain, and I think he's vital for the longevity of an actor's career. He's vital for the longevity of a show, and a good one. a really good one, of which I've been blessed to be able to follow, instills confidence in his teammates. And magic is born in fucking confidence. So it's a director. It's a director. It's a director. It's a director. For me now, it's a director. It should be everything, and I hope it is everything. You know, you hope for the perfect soup of everything. But if I had to choose, it's the director.
There's a couple of things there I would love to touch on. The first is you mentioned that kind of 18-month period of rock bottom, and we don't have to go into it in great detail, but I find those moments, as horrible as they are when we are in them, they can be very powerful, I think, because sometimes you can't see the highs if you haven't been at the lows.
Oh, mate.
Would you agree with that?
Oh, mate. I think that's absolutely true. That's 100% spot on. That's beautiful. The uh, the bad ones, the bad experiences, and I was in a really, really bad place. You know, I could be surrounded by loved ones and feel like the loneliest man in the world. Uh, but ultimately, those bad experiences lead to the best work, the best experiences. And I don't mean that the horrible, horrible times are the best. I mean the bad ones lead to the best gigs, because in that horrible place, you've opened yourself up to wanting better, attracting better. Okay. The experience of the bad ones lead to the experience of the good ones, in my experience. And I've had plenty of bad gigs. I mean, like where I've been even the worst thing in it, you know, and I've always even okay. I'll tell you. Well, I'm not gonna. I won't get into it. Okay, but from the bad stuff, okay, you grow, you learn, like we talked about previous in this, you evolve, okay. And while it's painful at the time, it isn't until you step away from it that you realize how beautiful, not only beautiful but necessary, the whole thing is. I once got recast as the lead in a hugely successful show from one of my heroes before we even started filming, twice, and everything from that dark place that came from there led to here, this point, talking to you. And this is the best time of my life for me. So, so I bear hug the shit out of the bad ones, knowing that on the other side are the best ones.
That's powerful, man. Thank you for sharing. Very important aspect of the industry, and it's brilliant to have your insight. I love that you are at your best place right now as well.
Thank you.
The other thing I wanted to touch on was you were talking about now you're looking for directors. And I would love to maybe just dig into that collaborative relationship that exists then between you and a director. And maybe we could look at what that relationship is like for you now on sets. And I'm sure it changes with from director to director, but you as an actor, what is it that you hope to find in your relationships with directors?
That we both lie down in traffic for each other. That we're both coming from the same place, that we want the best for the show. And like I talked about it, like a really good director can instills confidence in his cast and his crew. And there can be a lot said with confidence you've won before you've even started. You know, you've magic is born in that place. It gives you the freedom to experiment, to flow, to know that you got time to play and to explore, even though it might not seem that way. There's time carved out to be able to at least have those discussions. And I find myself certainly recently working with directors that I've admired for a very, very long time. I've had bad ones, right? And I'm sure I've been absolutely terrible in return. But the good ones, you know, you remember the feeling that they instill in you, and that you're both ready to go to war. Um, and that you need that kind of armor for when you're going on set, because acting is standing up naked and turning around very, very slowly. It's an incredibly vulnerable art, when you're doing that. So to have somebody in your corner like that, somebody that you lie down in traffic for, like I said, is a really, really important thing, you know.
You mentioned two things earlier, and they're just words and language that I love and associate with the industry as a whole. One of them was you kind of mentioned about the whole thing being a team effort. And then the other thing, which I think you're touching on in that process, what you were talking about there, is trust and how utterly vital it is in making film and television. And it's something that I think everyone who I've spoken to so far, and I would imagine it will continue to be a recurrent theme, is this idea of trust and how much it underpins everything that we do.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, we need it.
Directors wise, you said you've worked with good ones, bad ones, had different experiences. Not looking for names, but I'm always curious about notes. Do you have a worst note that you've ever been given, or like has there been great notes? Because sometimes maybe there's just a thing that unlocks a whole character for you.
This is great because this happened to me just very recently. Okay, so as far as like oh man, I had this incredible experience with a really, really good. You know what? Okay, worst. Let's start with worst. Okay, and I don't think I haven't had many really bad. I mean, I didn't know this was terrible until I tried to implement it actually. Okay, and then I found out what type of actor I was by doing it. But I remember I was doing a scene with another actor, Richard Coyle, and the director runs up to me saying, "It's amazing, that's brilliant. Do that again, exactly like that." And I remember looking at Richard saying, "I don't even know what the fuck I did, and what does that even mean? If it's great, let's move on, or if not, give me something different, or tell me this one's just for fun." I mean, there are actors, great actors that I've worked opposite, played opposite, who can do the exact same thing every take, and it's a skill. They can also go anywhere that you require them to do, but they can do the exact same thing, take every single time. And I don't have that skill, so we roll up. We roll up, we go again, and I try to recreate everything I think I did moments before in order to implement his note, of which I'm always willing to do. And the secret to acting is don't get caught doing it. And man, was I getting caught doing it. And all I hear from the distance, way off in the little studio is, cut! Okay, let's move on. And I just went, oh my God, that was fucking awful. And I realized then that I wasn't the type of actor who could give the same take twice. Because every take had to be different because I was different in every take. In every moment. You try and let the moment use you rather than you trying to impose yourself on the moment. So which was happening there. So I don't know. It was a good lesson. Maybe it wasn't a bad piece of direction. Maybe it was absolutely wonderful. But the thing I want to get to, because you asked this question, and the best piece of advice or best piece of direction, sorry, even that I would have gotten, it just happened recently. It's not the best. It's the one that's really fresh in my mind. Okay, I've had lots of great experiences with great, super talented people, and I've learned so much from every gig. But recently, okay, I'm with this top director who, like I said, I'm a fan of for over 20 years. Okay, I'm screen testing for something, and he's fucking wonderful. And we're in the room, and he starts to, we're in the room, he comes in and getting ready to do the scenes. And he starts to ask me some personal questions that have got nothing to do with the character or the script. And because it's me, I just open up to him. Okay, it's the only gear that I know. And we're having this lovely to and fro. And then we go into these hardcore visceral scenes. And he asked me to play it certain ways. Imagine if you're this and you're talking to such and such, which again would never be used in the movie, but as an acting exercise, it takes you out of this maybe, which I don't do anyway, but any practice stale preconceived notions that you have of playing the scene. So, and he either wanted to see where I'd go, or he was just having fun. And either way, of course, I was game. No matter how much it was going to cost me, if it was going to cost me the job or not, I was game. So we explored the scenes and we tried to make it work to see if there was something in those scenes that neither of us thought of. And I remember I start to get emotional in one of them, and he stops me and he says, "What's going on?" And I tell him that the person that I'm now threatening is now my daughter in the scene, as was his note. And it's making me sad. It's making me feel broken. The situation she's in, I feel powerless, blah, 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 blah. And he says, stop making the scene about yourself. It's got nothing to do with you. Make it about the other person. Make the other person more important. There's nothing interesting in self-indulgent shit. And fuck me, he was right. Well, he said it nicer than that, but he was right. And that's what I do, but I wasn't doing it there. I mean, how many auditions, and that in turn reminded me of how many auditions, certainly when I was starting out, and peppered throughout my career, I still do from time to time. I got another one that was painful, but how many auditions starting out where you go in and you do just that? And I'd always know the auditions that I nailed and the ones which I fucked by asking one simple question. What did the reader's face look like? And if I didn't know, I fucked it. I was too busy making it about myself, too busy making it about my feelings. And I've always known that. But he reminded me, the secret to living is giving. So if you want to live your best fake life, just give yourself over to your scene partner. It was an insane lesson. It was an absolute schooling. I felt like I was supposed to be there for half an hour. I was probably there for an hour, and I felt like I was on set of The Big Bow Wow when the legend that is Dermot Walsh was like looking in the monitor, going, "Oh dear God," that's what it felt like. I was back to being like, you know, I just felt schooled, but I loved that.
Listen, I think that's a great piece of advice in general. I have a question that kind of encapsulates maybe a lot of the things we've been talking about. And I had mentioned this here. I'm always curious about environments. And I think so much of what we do and what we hope for is to create these really positive collaborative environments. And I was wondering, when you think of some of the best experiences you've had in this industry, are there any common denominators that spring to mind, maybe about that work or the environment that was created?
I don't know, man. Be nice. I mean, respect each other. Know that without any one person, no one can do their jobs as effectively, from the runners all the way up to the execs. It just doesn't work. We don't work. So, be nice, respect each other, give each other space to do that particular job. This isn't so much. This isn't just for actors. This is a human one, human answer. Just be nice. If you're nice and the environment is nice, that's conducive to creativity to flourish, I guess. And I know there are some animals and some plants that thrive in harsh conditions, but where you can, just be nice and get catering right. For the love of sweet Jesus, get catering right. That's massive. You'd think it would be the number one on the list. Happy fed crew and cast, happy environment. But I think when I look back on it, it's a very interesting question. And when I look back on it, it's those well-oiled working shows. People are just nice and they carry each other, and there's a huge, profound respect for each other. And I think that's great.
Had you have not said any more than be nice, it's a great way of looking at it. I would agree with it entirely as well.
My sister bought me a top for my birthday. It was on end of January, and it just says "Be fucking nice." And she said, I saw this and said, "This is you."
That is a great top. Where you are in your career now, when you think of young Emmett, that 8-year-old shadow boxing behind the couch, if you could give him one piece of advice about the life he was about to embark upon becoming an actor, what would that be?
Basically, hitting back on our point, never say anything about yourself that you don't want to come true. That's the advice I give him when he was about to be, he was endeavoring to go on to this wonderful, wonderful journey. I mean, if we knew how powerful our words were, we'd never speak another negative thought again, ever. You gotta change your inner dialogue with yourself about yourself, because I was cruel to myself, and at times I can fall into that darkness and be super, super cruel. But the minute you do that, the minute you change your words, you generate feelings that match those words, and those feelings are the fuel to your wildest, most imaginative dreams, whether you know they're yours or not. And again, touching on gratitude, being of service to other people, um, uh, giving from a genuine place, loving yourself, not in an arrogant way, in a kind way, and be confident. Yeah, be confident. As Rumi says, live life as though everything is rigged in your favor, and your confidence will help that practice. So watch out for your thoughts and be grateful and have confidence, because you're a good kid.
Are you able to talk about what's next?
I got a bunch of things coming out this year. 3 movies, a couple of TV shows, so that's really cool. I'm really excited about all them, and I hope they they're received with as much love as the last few. But I know that gravy train can't fucking last. Um, yeah. So yeah, I've got 3 movies to look out for and 2 TV shows, and then hopefully I'll be um opening up more bottles of champagne, and everybody will be opening up more bottles of fizz or whatever the poison may be, because there's so much stuff that I still want to do. I haven't even, like I said, mate, I haven't even scratched the surface. There's so many directors that I want to work with, writers, actors. I hope uh, I've built up a little bit of momentum, and I hope I can keep it going, and I hope I can manifest another couple of dreams. I love how Barry Keoghan creates his career. You know that? I think he's done a remarkable. I love the choices he makes. It's really wonderful to watch what he's doing at the moment. In Saltburn, I thought it was absolutely remarkable. I had an opportunity to possibly work with him. Yeah, I auditioned for. This is another lesson, right? Andrea Arnold is the director, okay? And the project, it just seemed right up my street. It was exactly what I wanted to do. It was perfect. I couldn't have fucking manifested a better opportunity, but I fucked it. Okay, it was kind of like it was an improv thing, which I love and which I'm more than happy to dance in. But I made the mistake of wanting the part badly that I prepared for it, or as much as one can prepare for an improv, and I found myself shackled to my own notes and not Lucy Party's notes and not casting's notes. And that's just not like me. But for whatever reason, I did it, and I fucked it. But there's a lesson to be learned from that anyway. I certainly walked away from one. It reminds you, it's things like that that kind of remind you that you're still starting out. You're still a novice.
Beginner's mind all the time. Every day's a school day. Emmett, thank you very much. Listen, man, I have no doubts that there is going to be an endless stream of bottles of fizz in and out of that fridge of yours over the next while. And you are, earlier on, you mentioned the start of your career, having to make that kind of mindset adjustment to feel like you're deserving. And just so it is said, you are so deserving of all of your success. love your work, and I am so grateful for you taking the time to come in and talk to me today. So thank you.
Hugely appreciate you. You're doing a fantastic job. God bless you.
Thank you, man. And that is a wrap on Emmett J. Scanlan. Thank you so much for listening to the Filmmaker's Playbook. If you are enjoying the show, please share it with a friend or follow and rate us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. As always, if you have feedback, questions, or topics you'd like me to cover on the show, please put them in the comments section on our Instagram page at the Filmmaker's Playbook Podcast. You can follow me on Instagram at Jason Branagan Director, and you can find Emmett on Instagram at scandalous_13. Links and social media handles are posted in the show notes. Join me next week when I talk to actor and writer Stephen Jones. Until next time.